Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Cat Dragon from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, Am I the Arsehole Here for refusing to be at a family Christmas? So, just over a year ago on Christmas Day of 2024, I, 17 male, went over to my mum's house. I live full-time with my dad, to be at Christmas with my family because I enjoy being there with my family, even though I don't personally celebrate the holiday for religious reasons. In particular, I wanted to spend time with my little sister who lives 50-50 with my mum and dad. She's always so excited about waking up on Christmas morning to see the presents left under the tree, as I was excited to be there as it was likely, and now I know for sure it was, her last year believing in Santa Claus. I arrived and I mostly avoided the other people there because me and my mum's boyfriend do not get along because he's always been an asshole towards me and my siblings. However, when we got ready for presents, I sat on the couch and began to converse with the others before going to grab a cup of water before we started. I'm diabetic and my blood sugar was high and drinking water helps. When I got back, my mum's boyfriend's daughter, we call her Peggy, was in the seat I had left, and I asked her to move because I was sitting there and it was the only seat with a cup holder in the living room. She proceeded to roll her eyes and say something like, I'm here now though. I then asked her again, and as I will admit I'm a bit of a hothead, had some anger in my voice, as she then got up and attempted to shove me, as I grabbed her hands to stop her, and let go as soon as she stopped trying to push me. At this point my mum entered the conversation, yelling at me to get my hands off of her, and as I already let go of her, I backed up and just said okay, as to not escalate things further. My mum proceeded to pull me aside and shout at me for an extended period of time, and when I explained my side of what happened, she called me a liar, said I wouldn't ruin her Christmas, and kicked me out of the house in the middle of winter. As I was escorted out, I could see Peggy smirking at me. I expect that she planned to get me in some sort of trouble because she's always been an attention hog, especially when it comes to my mum, and was happy when she saw just how fruitful her endeavors were. I proceeded to walk around for about an hour in minus 10-degree weather before my dad was able to get back to town to pick me up. He had taken off of work and brought me to see Nosferatu later that day to cheer me up and definitely help my mental state somewhat that day. Despite his best efforts though, my dad wasn't able to prevent all mental damage, and now I struggle to even interact with my mum or any of her boyfriend's family. Moving forward about a year, she invited me and expected me to come to her family Christmas the next year, and this is the true moment I need judgment on because I feel like I was a little too harsh. I responded to the message. Mum, I would love nothing more than to come to yet another family Christmas celebrating a religious figure I don't believe in, surrounded by people who are always judging me for what I'm wearing or not bringing a girlfriend, even though I'm out and proudly gay, while having to watch your boyfriend get blackout drunk in the corner and yell at his daughter and call her slurs, but I don't want to ruin another family Christmas with my presence. Talk to you later. She of course didn't respond well and began yelling at me over text about how I'm ungrateful and disrespectful and how this situation has nothing to do with your choice of being gay, except she used a different term. So of course I blocked her and asked my brother to message me if she ever wanted to apologize. I felt good about how I handled that situation, but I feel as though maybe I was too spiteful and aggressive in that message and just made things worse. So Reddit, am I the arsehole here? To me, it feels like it's one of those stories where there's a whole history of this kind of behavior from the mum towards him, a whole pattern of behavior. But the fact that she threw out her kid, who's 17, diabetic, and threw him out in minus 10 weather without actually properly discovering what happened. I mean, you could talk about the initial argument and was it dealt with perfectly, getting heated over a seat, grabbing Peggy's hands, etc. But again, I got a whole feeling that this has been a pattern for a very long time. Obviously, I don't know, but it certainly feels that way already. But the fact is, in that situation, his mother is the adult and the parent. Her response should have been separating them and calming everyone down and hearing actually what went on and then dealing with it in an appropriate way. Instead, she immediately decided that OP was lying, accused him of trying to ruin Christmas, and literally put him outside in dangerous weather. That's fucked up. And the mum's lack of self-awareness is just, well, actually, it's not really surprising, is it? Instead of apologizing for what happened and being understanding of OP and saying, I understand why last Christmas still hurts and I'm sorry about that, she jumped to calling him ungrateful, disrespectful, and apparently sounds like uses a slur, insisting his sexuality has nothing to do with anything. But a commenter says to OP, how hurtful that response from your mother was. Stay strong. The only people we all need in our lives are the ones who care about us, and we them. And your mum has shown a callous disregard for you, her son. It's hard to let go, but sometimes protecting ourselves is the priority. You are not the arsehole. Particular Rich says, not the arsehole, they're cruel people. I would never contact her again. She chose who she wanted to be in her life, and it's not you. I'm sorry your mum sucks. Stay strong, not the arsehole. Commenter says, she sounds mentally unbalanced, and what a shitty individual she is for never standing up for her own child. Not every woman is a good mother, and she definitely fits the bill. People don't choose to be gay. They are born this way, and it's scientifically backed. It isn't just seen in humans either. The fact that she cannot accept you for who you are says plenty. Stop wasting your time in thinking she will change. She won't. Live your life and enjoy it for who you are, not the arsehole. So it was 7 months later that OP came in with her update and says, so in my first post I described how I felt my mum and some of my other family members had treated me unfairly during an incident at Christmas, and it seemed you guys agreed with me and agreed with my decision to not come to the following family Christmas. Months on, I have a bit of an update to the situation, wherein I had to cut my mum off from my life for as long as she would refuse to make things right and apologize, and eventually she did reach out. She got a hold of me through my brother, who said she was acting as though she wanted to apologize, so I agreed to meet with her. Just a few minutes into the conversation, I realized that apologizing was never her intention, but she wasn't truly sorry for the way she treated me. Her primary reason for reaching out to me was that she wanted me to come to part of her wedding, and by that I mean she wanted me and my band to play her wedding for free. As soon as that came up, I was ready to blow up, but I didn't have to because apparently my brother was sick of her shit and realized she had lied to his face in order to make this conversation take place, and he blew up at her before storming out with me and driving me home. Since then, that all happened in April, like a week after my 18th birthday. I've left my mum in the dust and enjoyed my life way more than I ever had when my mother was part of it. Thank you all who gave me support during this tense and stressful chapter of my life. I'm happy to report it's over and done with, and I'm off to new horizons and college in New York. A commenter says to OP, congratulations on letting that toxic piece of garbage go fester somewhere else. Good for your brother for having your back. Hope he also went no contact with your vile parent. OP says sadly, he's always been a mama's boy, and he has stayed very close with our mum, but recently his eyes have opened to a lot of things he didn't see before after the way she treated me. A commenter says, all I needed to know was that she literally threw you out in the middle of winter. Everything else was icing on the shit cake that is your mum. Hope you reply saying it was also like the coldest day of the year and it had hit the negatives at one point. Wanda says, I understand not wanting to gift someone a free wedding band even when you have a decent relationship. When someone wants such a gift and doesn't regret their past hurtful behavior, it's even worse. My evil side does think of this as an opportunity. You'd have the microphone. You would control the playlist. Protecting your peace is probably better than revenge, but the possibilities make me laugh. Not the arsehole. Opie replied saying I'd be lying if I said it didn't cross my mind, but I didn't want to make my bandmates cross states. She had a destination wedding in the mountains of Tennessee, and we live in Kentucky. I have to pay for a hotel and such, all for the sake of some petty revenge. And I'm so glad that OP made that decision to protect themselves. I know it must be incredibly difficult, even though someone's been an absolute arsehole when behavior's been normalized. We see it time and time again in these stories. It must be difficult to make that choice still. But protecting yourself in this is absolutely the priority and the right thing to do. The absolute cheek to get in contact with you and not be apologetic, but ask for you to play at their wedding is just mind-blowing, isn't it? Is there a thought process that happens when they're thinking about it? Like, I've really pissed this person off in the past. I should really apologize before even requesting something from them. What goes through their mind? And the person that hinted at revenge at the very end of that story, it would be nice to see, but absolutely just keeping your peace and moving on with your life is always the best form of revenge in my opinion. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from the advice subreddit from Throwaway Bros Girlfriend 123 and says, I, 25 male, think my brother's 30 male girlfriend, 28 female, likes me. Should I tell my brother something or her? Throwaway because my family and brother's girlfriend uses Reddit. My brother, let's call him Jose, and his girlfriend Valerie, fake names, have been together since high school. They're 30 and 28 now and live together. As far as I know, they have a good relationship. They did take a 1-year break a few years ago, but Jose never really talked about what happened. He just said there were no hard feelings on his end and that he still loved her. They eventually got back together and moved in together and have been together ever since. I'm 25 and went to college out of state, so I honestly wasn't that close with Valerie growing up. I've only really gotten to know her since I came back. Earlier this year, my brother got a new job that gives us more time to hang out, so he started inviting me over more to watch games, movies, play video games, etc. At first, I just thought Valerie was being really nice. She'd make sure there was food when I came over, and if she didn't cook, she'd go buy something. She remembers all my favorite snacks and foods and will have them there when I come over. And sometimes she'll even bring me food when Jose and I are playing a game. Then I started noticing other stuff. At my graduation, she took a ton of pictures of me and even came close to the stage to make sure she got good pictures, saying it was for my family. For birthdays and Christmas, she makes me little baskets with my favorite things or stuff I've mentioned wanting or needing. I've also caught her staring at me a lot when we're hanging out, and she asks me a lot about my work, friends, dating life, etc. There have also been a few specific situations that made me start thinking more about it. When I first moved away for college, she offered to drive me since my mum and brother couldn't get the time off. My mum ended up being able to switch shifts, so it wasn't needed. Another time I needed to borrow something from Jose and he told me to just stop by since Valerie works from home. When I got there, she insisted I stay for dinner and hang out until Jose got home, and she even brought her work laptop into the living room so she could work there instead of her office. Then there was another incident that made me think about it even more. One day, Valerie and I both had to work late and my family was having a game night with some distant cousins who were in town. Jose was already there, so Valerie asked if I could give her a ride. She doesn't drink at all and says she hates alcohol because she's never found anything she likes, so I know it wasn't about needing a sober ride. The drive was pretty long and we talked the whole time, and she was singing along to basically every song I played. What stood out to me afterwards is that when she was younger, she used to get car sick and would usually fall asleep in the car on family trips, but this time she was fully awake and talking the entire ride. She also told me she never realized how much we have in common in terms of music, books, movies, etc. Maybe none of this means anything and she's just a really nice person. Honestly don't know. But the staring, attention, remembering everything I like and always wanting to spend time with me has started making me wonder if there's something more to it. For context, I'm not attracted to Valerie at all. She's not my type. I've also been told I look like a younger version of Jose, so part of me wonders if that has something to do with how she treats me. The reason I'm hesitant to say anything is because my entire family loves Valerie. My sisters are always talking about how nice she is. They go on girls' trips together. She's the godmother to both of my sister's kids, and my mum absolutely adores her. The family constantly talks about how sweet, thoughtful, and amazing she is, especially how good of a cook she is. Basically, everyone thinks she's perfect. When Jose and Valerie broke up years ago, my whole family was really sad about it because they were so close with her and her family. I was away at college for most of that, so I never really had the same relationship with her that everyone else did. If I tell Jose, I feel like he'll probably be in denial because he's completely in love with her. Should I tell Valerie that I'm not interested and that some of her behavior is making me uncomfortable? Should I just start keeping my distance, or should I tell my brother what I've noticed? Holy moly, mate, you just simply acquired a sister in this situation. I mean, let's run it back. They've been together since high school. She's close enough to his family that she goes on trips with his sisters, godmother to their children, and his mother adores her. At this point, to her, Opie just isn't some random adult man she happens to know. He's basically the brother-in-law. And to me, the interactions between them wasn't any evidence at all. I mean, what, she feeds him, remembers his favorite snacks, bought him thoughtful Christmas presents, took pictures of his graduation, asked about his life. She just sounds like a bloody wonderful person. She just reminds me of one of my sister-in-laws. And she's been part of the family since I was young, and she's looked after me as I've grown up, and whenever I go round, she's getting my favorite drinks and always gets me thoughtful gifts for birthday and Christmas. Always willing to look out for me and do whatever's needed. And she is my sister. That's what I consider her. She is like my sister. A commenter says to OP, all you describe here is someone that is nice to you. That doesn't mean she is attracted to you. Don't destroy your relationship with your brother over nothing. She didn't do anything wrong, so accusing her without proof will not end well for you. OP says, I didn't tell him anything, but I did talk to my sisters. They laughed at me and said I was delusional, and then told me all the ways Valerie must be into them. Safe to say, I'm an idiot. A commenter says, do not say a fucking word about any of this to anyone. It'll all end in tears. Trust me, I know. You keep stum, say nothing. OP says I told my sisters and they laughed at me. Another one says, I would feel weird if my woman did this to my brother. There are going to be specifically women saying that she is just being friendly. Nah, I wouldn't like this at all. As a man myself, no reason my woman should be close to my brother. That's how otherworldly backstabbing happens. Ugh, dearie me. OP says, well, we aren't close. She's a lot closer to my sisters and I was thinking she only did this to me. But hearing what her and my sisters do made me realize she does the bare minimum with me. So after about 5 days, OP comes in with an update and says, so I didn't tell my brother or Valerie anything. Instead, I went to my sisters and told them what I had noticed. They basically laughed at me and said I was being delusional. They pointed out that, if I was going by my own logic, Valerie would probably be even more into them because she does some of the same things for them and more. She's cooked recipes they've seen online and said they wanted to try, surprised them with meals or snacks they've mentioned wanting, and sometimes stops by their work with coffee she makes herself or leftovers that she and Jose didn't finish. Honestly, had no idea she did any of that. My family really doesn't cook much. If we do, it's usually pretty basic stuff. Valerie, on the other hand, is a really good cook and makes all kinds of dishes from different cultures too. My sisters explain that cooking for each other is kind of a thing between them and Valerie. If Valerie makes something for them, they'll usually return the favor by making something for her, or sometimes they'll take her out to eat. It's not something Valerie does for everyone in the family, it's more of a mutual thing between her and my sisters. They also pointed out something I completely overlooked. A lot of the snacks I thought Valerie specifically remembered for me were actually Jose's favorites too. Sometimes Jose is the one who tells her what to buy too, and when. My sister said that when they're shopping with her, she'll sometimes say something like, Jose asked me to grab these for him and me, OP. So it's not always Valerie thinking specifically about me. I guess she rubbed off on my brother too, because he wasn't always as emotional or caring as he is now. Someone also DM'd me if Valerie only served me food when I was over. No, she serves Jose his plate too. Sometimes she'll cut up fruit and vegetables and put them on a big plate for both of us, and Jose to share. Kind of like a charcuterie board. She calls it her girl dinner, but it's usually something she makes for both of us to eat. A few people also asked if I've been single this whole time. I haven't. Had a girlfriend before, but she wasn't nearly as attentive or close to my family as Valerie is, so I think that's part of why Valerie's behavior stood out to me so much. I'm just not used to my brother's girlfriend being that attentive towards me, so I interpreted it differently than I probably should have. My sisters also reminded me of something else I never really considered. Valerie is an only child and apparently wasn't very close with anyone growing up. Her family was mostly older tias and tios, is that aunts and uncles, and because they were older, her family eventually became pretty small. My sisters think that's part of why she likes being so involved with our family. We have a much bigger family, and apparently she really enjoys being part of it. They also told me they weren't going to say anything to Jose and that I shouldn't either. Apparently Jose is planning on proposing to Valerie in October, and they don't want me to make things awkward between us or have mine and his relationship rocky again over something that I completely misread. I guess she was just being nice herself. Commenter says to OP, brother, you need more social relations. There's no way you had 4 people in this equation for reference and only ever looked at yourself. OP says, I never knew what she did with my sisters. I'm just now closer with my brother and Valerie. I didn't know this was a normal behavior. Commenter says, why was your relationship with Jose rocky before? OP says, I take the blame, and honestly, I blame my mum too. Jose would work, go to school, do the yard work and housework, and help with finances around the house, while I basically did nothing. I also mooched off him, and I knew it irritated him. I was a dumb teenager at the time and didn't really care or realize how bad I was being. My mum definitely babied me. She used to call me the golden boy and would ignore a lot of what my 2 older siblings did for the family. Looking back, I can see how unfair that was to them. I eventually grew out of that phase once I had to live on my own for school. When I moved back home, I started taking on the household responsibilities that Jose used to handle, but by then my relationship with Jose and my older sister had already been pretty bad for a while. My sister was very vocal about how frustrated she was with me, but at the time I basically played dumb to get out of doing chores or helping with our younger sister. So yeah, I can understand why Jose was irritated with me back then. I was young and immature, but I also know that doesn't mean I wasn't being a shitty little brother. But we are all better now. A lot of people on the back of this were saying surprisingly wholesome. Other people saying him being the golden child explains why he saw her behavior that way. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Tough Cookie 1984 from the Am I Overreacting subreddit. It says, am I overreacting for wanting to break up with my girlfriend for laughing at me for crying during an audio book? This is my first post. I labeled it NSFW due to some harsh language. I'm sorry for any formatting mistakes. I'm on mobile. Like the title said, I, 41 male, want to break up with my partner of 2 years, 39 female, after she mocked me for crying during an audio book. I've never been a very outwardly emotional person. Blame it on my childhood or 22 years in the military, recently retired or whatever, but I've always leaned more towards stoicism than anything else. However, there are times that external media such as books and audiobooks, movies, music, etc. elicit emotional responses from me. To get to the meat of this, I was in my garage fixing my bicycle and listening to the audiobook of A Memory of Light, Wheel of Time Book 14 by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. And I came to a character death that kind of floored me and I began to cry. She had poked her head in to ask me something, and I guess this was my first time my girlfriend had seen this side of me. And rather than ask me what was going on, she immediately started mocking me, saying, "Look at this, the big bad marine blubbering like a bitch with a skin knee." Exact quote. I don't know what came over me, but I yelled, "Fuck off!" Dropped my tools, grabbed my phone, jumped in my pickup and drove down the river so I could cool off. After about an hour, I drove back home. She was waiting for me when I came in and said, "What was that about? You can't take a little teasing?" I didn't say anything, just stared at her, and to fill the silence she said, "I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. You're an ugly crier." Instead of entertaining the argument that was about to happen, I walked past her, went to our bedroom and started packing some clothes and toiletries into my gym bag. I'm currently staying at my sister's place, and I text her saying that I need some time and we can talk when I'm ready. I'm wondering if I overreacted by going from zero to get the fuck out without giving her a chance to talk this through. I just felt so exposed and disrespected in that moment. I don't know if what I did was right or if I should try and salvage this. We've had a pretty good relationship up until now. I mean, we've had arguments and disagreements, but we've worked through that stuff. So am I overreacting? Within the same post, Opie comes in with a little update and says, "We just sat down at Denny's and had breakfast together to try and talk this out. While she did apologize for laughing at me, we did ultimately decide to split. I spent a good portion of last night reading through everyone's responses, writing down some questions I wanted to ask her, and was able to make it through without a lot of pushback or defensiveness on her part. Her reasoning for her reaction to seeing me in such a vulnerable state was initially shock because, as I summarized in my original text, she'd never seen me that way before, and her doubling down by calling me an ugly crier was her way of trying to make light of it. I told her that I need to be with someone who will allow me to be vulnerable without making fun of me for it. Expounded by telling her a little about my childhood and the neighborhood in which I grew up, and that where I came from, any sign of weakness was met with derision, mockery, and scorn. I also told her about my time as a Marine and how in the Corps there was a persuasive culture of toxicity, but if you actually do break down and start crying, most of your brothers will comfort you. As far as the logistics of the breakup, I'm giving her until the start of September to get her affairs in order and find a new place to live since the house is mine, and my sister has graciously told me I can stay with her until then. She said she likes having me there because it helps her out with my nephews and nieces by having me around with her husband currently deployed. He's Air Force. No one's perfect, but he's a good man. Edit, I cleaned up the grammar and spelling mistakes and I hope that helps. What gets me in this is that he could have been crying over literally anything. It could have been someone's death, it could have been anything, and she walked in, saw her partner in tears, and her first instinct wasn't concern or just to say, "Hey, is everything okay?" It was to mock him. Like, maybe I'm different, but if I see anyone genuinely crying, even someone I don't know, my immediate reaction is concern. If it would be my partner, I'm absolutely checking what's wrong before anything else. And in this particular case, I'll be even more concerned because by his own description, this is a man who very rarely shows that kind of emotion. If I've been with someone for 2 years and have never seen them cry, then suddenly I walk into a garage and they're in tears, my first thought would be like, oh fuck, what's happened here? Then to double down with the ugly cryest nonsense as well, that'd be ending for me. But around 5 weeks later, Opie does come in with an update and says, I'm still new to Reddit, so I'm not exactly sure how to link posts, but if you look at my profile, you can find the original post. Anyway, a little over a month ago, I, 41 male, posted about wanting to break up because my girlfriend, 39 female of 2 years, laughed at me for crying during a major character's death in A Memory of Light by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson, and then doubled down by saying that she could never look at me the same way again because I'm an ugly crier. I spent 3 weeks staying with my little sister. She's 40, so maybe not so little, and she's 2 inches taller than me, and I'm still her big brother by 10 months. Well, she finally got the last of her shit out of my house and I've moved back in. I don't know if I should come out and say this, but I've been trying to connect with my emotions. I cried more in the last 6 weeks than I've done in the last 20 years, but after 22 years as a Marine, crying actually feels amazing. I've honestly just been dopamine mining at this point. I'm definitely not looking to get into any relationships right now. I'm just trying to accept that I have trauma and that I'm finally at a moment in my life where I can embrace my emotions without having to apologize for them. I'm not a complete blubbering mess, but I've been meditating. I've been considering and I've been focusing on intention. As far as the breakup goes, she hasn't reached out at all. After the showdown at Denny's, she completely disengaged and started looking for a new place to live. Thank you all for your kind words and DMs. This Marine is grateful. And I'm glad that OP did get away with her. If she's saying stuff like, I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again, you're an ugly crier, after seeing him that way and crying after, like I said before, he's not usually a crier, so surely you should be concerned more than anything. I just find that wild. I could never imagine saying something like that to someone, but what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it is absolutely amazing. And hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.